Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the 3rd and 20 Dynasty Podcast, Season 2, Episode 11. The whole squad of me, JT, Jake, Lounis, and Frank are back at it. I'm going to start off this with a little pet peeve, guys. I have been listening to a lot of Dynasty football podcasts, but it's just like a podcast thing in general, where the host always is like, hey guys, and like I'm guilty of this too, where they're like, hey guys, like what's going on? And then there's like a big pause, and then everyone's like, going good, excited to be back. And then the host just goes, yeah, and then gets right into it. So instead, I just gave you a little quick monologue of me complaining about that, and we're going to go right into it. I don't care how you guys are. Yeah, I don't care how you guys are.
Welcome.
Especially Jake. Jake hasn't been here for like a month, but we don't care how he's doing.
Jake disappears. You think he could just run away and come back after he loses a couple of weeks in their home league.
He came back.
Yeah.
He had a score 200 to come back.
Yeah, happens to be highest scorer this week, and then that's when he shows up. Real convenient. All right. Kicking off with news and notes, we did have a big trade. Zach Ertz scores a touchdown against the Buccaneers and then gets traded immediately after to the Cardinals because Max Williams, our prized Max Williams, who we all said isn't even worth a roster spot at the beginning of the offseason, went down towards ACL. So the Cardinals go out, fulfill their tight end vacancy, get Zach Ertz. I think a good move. They gave up like a late pick. The Eagles kept some of the salary, I think. I don't necessarily think this offense needs Zach Ertz, but I don't think it hurts to go out and get Zach Ertz.
I mean, I like it more than what he was in before, because at least now he'll be like the main tight end and like a better passing offense. But it's just they have so many targets that it's like, I don't know if I'm ever going to feel good starting him as my tight end one, but I mean, he's a good fill-in for some weeks. They just have so many, like AJ Green, Hopkins, Moore, Kirk, and then now Ertz, Edmonds. But he's in a better situation than he was before. I thought the trade made sense.
Yeah, he's definitely in a better spot to succeed and get like more consistent volume. That's the problem with the Eagles offense right now, is that with Jalen Hurts and the plays that they call, I'm not going to put it all on Jalen Hurts. It's just hard to imagine consistent fantasy production coming from anyone outside of Jalen Hurts and now Dallas Goedert possibly. But with Ertz and Goddard kind of split in time, I mean, there's like one or two offenses we've ever seen really been able to sustain two tight end ones. But now that they're separated and not cannibalizing each other, maybe Ertz can go back to that low end or maybe even mid-tier tight end one in a really nasty Cardinals offense.
The tight end position this year is just so abysmal that I think it's way more likely than not he ends up being relevant, just because you just need like 4 targets and you are considered relevant.
He could be what people thought, and myself included, Jonnu Smith might be, and now Hunter Henry's kind of taken that, but maybe like a more consistent Hunter Henry, or if Hunter Henry kept the consistency he has right now. I think the problem though is that someone was saying it, just the amount of targets going around. But if he's the tight end and he's on the field every play, why can't he have especially in a tight end premium league, why can't he get 4 or 5 catches a game, 40, 50 yards, and be a nice little floor play with a little bit of upside in a nasty offense?
I mean, I completely agree. I mean, Max Williams was being started by a bunch of people just because that offense was so good and that, putting up a lot of yards, a lot of points. And I think we all can agree that Zach Ertz is more talented than Max Williams. So I think there's some upside here. I mean, obviously it's limited just because he's an older guy, and I don't know exactly what his contract situation is. Maybe Lounis, you would know just as an Eagles fan what that situation is. But for the remainder of this year, I think it's a nice spot for Zach Ertz.
The problem though is I don't think I'm going to go out and buy him. I'm just not sure.
I mean, probably not. But what do you think it would cost for a tight end needy team? If you can get him for a 3rd round pick, why not?
That's the issue, is that it's going to cost you more than a 3rd, in my opinion. And
he's one of those players in the dilemma where like the owner's going to want a late 2nd, but like the most anyone's going to buy is like a decent 3rd. He's kind of one of the players that fits into like that weird like in between mode.
Also, it's just like, dude, if you're a halfway competing team, you're not looking for a 3rd round pick right now. That's the last thing on your mind. It doesn't look good at all. It's like, oh, I'm trading him for a 3rd round pick. I might as well keep him for the run, especially in a tight end premium league. You probably have to buy for a second. One of those scenarios where if there's just a better tight end, a Dalton Schultz, I would much rather spend more to get Dalton Schultz than buy Zach Ertz.
So I just looked it up on Keep Trade Cuts. Zach Ertz is valued similarly to now Rob Gronkowski, and it's just I'd rather just pay the slight bit extra to get Gronk and just take him.
It's a 1-year rental deal to begin with. You're looking for the best 1-year rental if you're doing it.
They did say that while they haven't officially agreed to terms, the Cardinals do have Zach Ertz in their longer term plans. So maybe he ends up being relevant for more than 1 year. But to me, both of them at this moment are still just 1-year rentals. All right, let's go injury news. There's some big debates in the group chat for, I don't know, all of 10 minutes of whether Kareem Hunt tore his Achilles or just hurt his hamstring. Turns out it's a hamstring injury, but he's still getting put on IR, or calf. Yeah, calf, sorry. He's still getting put on IR. Obviously not nearly as bad as an Achilles injury for his long-term outlook, but who knows how long that does mean he will be out. Jake's weeping over here. I don't know. You just kick it off.
R.I.P. my sweet prince. Man, he's so good. I'm just going to go on a slight rant, but he's so good. Everyone's like, oh, he's a backup running back.
Best backup in the league.
Man was running back 6 while Nick Chubb was running back 11 heading into the week. Get the hell out of here.
How'd he do with Nick Chubb out? He must have done much better. Before he got hurt, he must have done much better with Nick Chubb out.
I mean, how far ahead was Nick Chubb? 5 points?
Killing it.
No, it was 15, but yeah.
So what's going to be interesting is so Nick Chubb is supposed to be out again this week, but I think back the week after because the game's on a Thursday night. So which of the next 2 Browns running backs are you liking? It's between Felton and I'm forgetting the other one's name off the top of my head.
Dearness Johnson.
Well, yeah, I guess we could do the waiver wire for those 2 right now real quick.
Kareem Hunt averaged 0.8 more points per game so far this season than Nick Chubb. I don't think it's that big of a difference.
If we're talking yards, it's definitely Kareem Hunt got more touchdowns, no? I'm pretty sure Kareem Hunt had more touchdowns.
Yeah, that's
okay. But let's get back. Sorry, I had to throw that little dig there.
So quick waiver wire segment break. Demetric Felton and Dearness Johnson. Those are the 2 that people look at. They're talking about picking up for this week against the Broncos, potentially going forward too, because we know Kareem Hunt's on IR.
They picked up John Kelly as well.
Oh, really?
Today.
Yeah, but I think that's just as a depth piece.
I think
Dearness Johnson and Felton are the 2 guys. It's funny. I saw a lot of people saying that, oh, well, Demetric Felton, he's a receiver. He's not going to play running back. I don't know why he couldn't take a couple of snaps, especially those 3rd down plays, why he couldn't be the running back there. But yeah, I think for me, Dearness Johnson's the guy.
I think they could end up playing the Chubb and Hunt role, with kind of where Hunt is kind of more on the receiving end, where Felton is being used there. Because I remember there was an earlier game this season where I forgot who was between Chubb or Hunt got hurt, but Felton started getting some touches, and he looked pretty good on the touches he got. Most of them.
The one problem I have though, Lounis, is that unless the Browns, this could very well happen if the Browns want to just kind of change up a lot of their personnel groupings that they've been using, where they're just kind of going to more 3 receiver sets and spreading the field out a little bit more. Hell yeah, Demetric Felton's going to be playing. But if they're going to do what they've been doing and use a lot of 12 and 13 personnel, it just doesn't. I'm not running Demetric Felton consistently through the tackles. I mean, as of right now, I think Dearness Johnson's the guy if they just kind of keep doing what they've been doing.
Correct, but I don't think there's any chance that they don't mix it up, just because you can't expect, the likes of Felton and Dearness Johnson to fill the void left by these 2 guys. These 2 guys in Chubb and Hunt are both spectacular running backs, and obviously the Browns are going to have to rely on Baker, who also got injured in this game again, but you're going to have to rely on Baker a little more than I think they're usually do.
Yeah, well, and that brings us to Baker injury news. Turns out he fully tore his labrum. I think there was reports initially that was a partial tear and whatnot.
Yeah.
But Baker fully torn labrum, and that hurts. Like I know it's his non-throwing shoulder, but like you still use your shoulder to throw the ball. Like it's not going to be comfortable with him throwing the ball. So
I don't know. I don't know how bad it is because he obviously
it's fully
like
torn.
and he wore the sling at halftime. But I don't know if like that Hail Mary pass was what, like 70 yards.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like
that's
pain.
the problem. I think the problem isn't with him actually throwing the ball. It's if he's going to change his play style. Because, dude, against the Cardinals, he was running around, still taking hits, trying to escape the pocket, and you're not going to be able to do that and play on a torn labrum. Like you're going to have to get rid of the ball quicker.
It's more of a pain tolerance thing than it is a mechanics thing. Because, like,
okay, that's fair.
Like you still have your arm to throw, but it hurts when you're starting to move your shoulder around and everything.
But it hurts like shit when you get hit.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. You know, like that's what I'm scared of if I'm Stefanski and them. It's like, dude, if he does one of these scrambles and takes a shot, or even just gets pushed to the ground, like, and he lands on that shoulder, that all of a sudden there during the game, that's when I'm scared. It's like if he just keeps taking shots and doesn't change up his play style.
Yeah, I mean, at this point though, we're at it's been dubbed by a get-in or something, where there are 6 teams on bye this week, so automatically there's only 26 quarterbacks.
It's actually the amount of buys I have this week are just absurd.
Yeah.
I'm being forced to start Demetric Felton this week. I don't have a choice.
Yeah, we only have 26 quarterbacks. And if you're in a super flex league, like that means if any teams have 3 quarterbacks on their teams, like
there's gonna be some of
we're going for scraps here. So a Baker with one shoulder and one half might be worth more fantasy points than the 4th wide receiver on the Broncos. Who even is that?
I think regardless though, like since we're basically combining waiver wire, I would spend. Yeah. I mean, if Demetric Felton or Dearness Johnson's on your waivers somehow, I really don't think they're going to be on waivers in any leagues. Like they were popular pickups weeks ago, but if they are, just drop it all, baby.
Yeah, I don't see why not at this point.
And Case Keenum too. Like, I mean, I wouldn't drop any real fab on him, but I would put in a claim because if he plays, he can put up points. It's not guaranteed, but in buy again, and you need just bodies, man. You need just snaps.
Especially if you own Baker and he's still on waivers.
Roster Baker.
Yeah.
Roster Baker.
We'll see in sensitivity training, bud. All right. Moving on. Next on the injuries is, I know what Lounis likes to call this team, but the Washington football team. Antonio Gibson. Yeah, Antonio Gibson battling. First it was turf toe during the offseason. Now they were saying it's like a shin injury, shin fracture maybe. I don't know what the deal is, but also kind of a painful thing. I read online. I don't know, the doctors that like to make money off fantasy running backs and wide receiver injuries, but I read online somewhere that if he was to actually like fully let it heal, it would take 3 months to let it heal. I don't think he's going to end up doing that. I think he's going to try and play through it, but it's going to hurt, similar to Baker's torn labrum. So I don't know. Frank, you have Antonio Gibson in our league. What are your thoughts on this?
Nervous, scared, terrified.
Okay.
I mean, this is one of the reasons I never thought that Antonio Gibson was the safest player in the world in the offseason even. I mean, there was a point where I was saying that I would try to sell Antonio Gibson. I did try to sell Antonio Gibson in our league. It just never really ended up happening. But that's also one of the reasons why I went out and got J.D. McKissick in a lot of leagues. I mean, I have J.D. McKissick way more than I do Antonio Gibson, not thinking that Antonio Gibson would get hurt, but if a situation like this ever arose, or we saw Antonio Gibson still kind of struggle to adapt to a new position in the NFL, that it's almost like I think this news is just way bigger for him than it is for Gibson, because now McKissick, we've seen even when they do split that McKissick has a ton of upside because he's that receiving back. And I mean, the Washington football team is just such a fucking clown fiesta that they're getting into these absolutely wild games, and that means good points for your receiving backs, generally speaking. So this sucks for Gibson. It's just been a dud season to a certain extent. He's only averaging like 14 points a game, and this does not help. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm scared to start him now.
I would not be surprised. He's obviously going to be questionable every single week now, heading into every single game. I wouldn't be surprised if he's just kind of hit or miss, and like he'll miss a game here and he'll miss a game there, and just because it's all like how his shin's doing that week and how his practice went and how he's looking that week. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough thing to monitor, and I share the same reaction as Frank. I'd be nervous if I'm an owner.
Yeah, I think
Roster.
Gibson. Yeah, I think Gibson.
Jake on there.
If he's active any week, I think I'm still starting him. Just because he's too talented for me, like not to. But it's definitely a situation where, particularly from a contender, this is an injury where like at any given week it could turn into a season-ending one. Where like if it reaches a point where he just can't play through the pain, he'll have to go through the full recovery. So while if he's active, I'm playing him. I'd keep that in mind that like, hey, something could go wrong and I may need a new running back in my start lineup at any given point.
See, I have no idea if this is actually going to impact him or not. I just hear 3 months and running back injury over and over and over again. Like, because he's like JT said, he's just had so many things that dude.
If he's active,
when is it going to
playing him.
end? I don't think it will end this year. That's the problem.
It feels like AJ Brown and his knees last year, and we didn't even know the extent of it until like during the offseason, where it was like he couldn't even walk in between games, like practices. He just didn't show up for because like he was in so much pain over his knees. Yeah, to me, definitely annoying. It's just going to be annoying is the word I describe.
You want to know what the problem is?
What's the problem, Frank?
Is that we have used the term questionable, like the people in fantasy football, way too leniently. Because there are so many what should be probables that have the Q there instead, which I quite frankly find bullshit. Because now when you have someone like Antonio Gibson that is legitimately questionable, I don't know what the fuck to think.
Well, that's why they used to have the doubtful tag, and then like basically doubtful ended up meaning out like 95% of the time before.
So they
like
got rid of it.
Yeah, if you were doubtful, you were out. I don't know why we're using like is probable still a thing? I feel like I don't see probable as a tag either.
So see, whatever happened.
I think they got rid of both of those.
Like, why is because this is a problem, man, because I just see questionable, and it's just like, well, like you said, Antonio Gibson's questionable is not the same as freaking Swift's questionable, because we all know Swift is going to play. Can we add something here so that I have some sort of actual gauge of severity?
We need like a questionable plus and a questionable minus.
Oh, you mean like a probable and a doubtful?
Yeah,
because dude, I don't want to look at the Twitter doctors because I'm just going to get fooled. I feel like I'm just going to firmly believe whatever the hell they say because they're going to sound very convincing and use a bunch of terms of stuff that I have no idea what it is. And I'm just going to be like, oh, fuck, Antonio Gibson, he's out. He's done. And as we've seen in a lot of forms of anything on social media, it's more so about trying to get clicks than it is about being right necessarily. So,
yeah.
What if I click onto one of those articles instead of one of the ones where it's actually trying to be right? I don't know, but I hate this. I hate the questionables.
Seems like you just need to be attached to your phone around like 12:45 before kickoff every Sunday for this to work out. All right. Julio Jones injured again.
Who saw this coming?
Everyone saw it coming. Everyone knew he was going to have another injury-full season. He's 32 years old and broken down. That's what he is.
Is this a serious one, or is this another Julio Jones? No, always questionable.
I mean, he pulled his hammy. Like
he's fine.
It's just one of these things that's going to like linger, and it's always going to be a questionable. He'll miss a week here. He'll miss a week there. Like he's just an old wide receiver that has.
He's a probable. He is a probable. This is bullshit.
Right.
He's been like a recurring segment.
Or he's a questionable
I think he's actually
level one.
So like a probable.
A little bit under probable.
I actually do think he's going to miss next week's game, but I don't think it's going to be a super long-term thing.
They are on a short week, which is something to
This is something I'm not like. It's what you signed up for. You should have known that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's very concerning. It's kind of just it's your annoyance that you kind of knew was coming.
Well, as you have said, JT, it is buy a get in, and it would be nice to have Julio Jones to throw in there.
My getting is hilarious.
I stole that from NFL Network. I don't feel that bad. It's the NFL Network. They gotta stop showing the same 3 commercials. That's my mini rant. All right, moving on. Parris Campbell, foot injury. I think the coaching staff called it significant.
I think he's done for the year.
Done for the year? Okay,
that's what I saw.
I didn't see that, but it's as a speedster, a foot injury is not good.
Yeah, it's gonna be for a while, and which is a shame too, because he had a nice touchdown catch.
Two out of 3 years ending pretty early is not a good.
And wasn't one of the injuries before a foot injury?
Hasn't it been 3 for 3? I thought.
Yes, it
has.
He
at least made it to like week 6 this year.
Yeah. Well, all right. I mean, I don't like tossing the injury-prone tag, but if you go 3 straight years,
he's injury-prone.
It feels hard to
tossing the injury-prone tag. But considering he's played about 25% of his possible games,
there's probably rookies who have played the same amount of games, or close to it. It's only going to take a couple more games, and they're going to have the same amount as Parris Campbell.
R.I.P. He's done.
Yeah. All right. Wrapping it up, the injury news, and I guess kind of our waiver wire because we kind of combined both. We got Kardarius Toney juked out his own ankles. I've heard this will be a multiple week injury, but nothing severe. But just like
I think it's an ankle sprain. They said, yeah,
ankle sprain. Yeah, 2-3 weeks. I think was what I was seeing. So
yeah,
I don't know. Similar to Saquon, it's annoying, but it's not a season ender, and it's not really like a. It shouldn't affect your team that much.
It didn't look as bad as Saquon's either. I think he'll be back probably in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I also don't know when the Giants bye is, so who knows? Maybe he has a bye to rest up. Okay. All right. Quick speed through there. Already on to Devy and David Bell, someone that I think as a pod we were all really high on him from our brief discussions. I really like that David Bell. Yeah,
David Bell went off this week. I think he had 11 catches for like 240 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns. The man absolutely destroyed this week. I mean, he's a guy that I thought I have personally right now as my wide receiver 2, only behind Burks. But he's 6'2" and pretty big, and he can do anything on the field. He's a guy that I would definitely be looking to take in the first round rookie drafts coming up. I don't know how you guys think, but he's a very intriguing prospect.
I think it was Ray GQ and someone else did a mock where he was in the early 2nd round. And
that's a steal. That is such a steal.
It's a super flex leagues, right? And I think they had 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the first round. And on top of the running backs, and we all know that the receivers are going to get hyped now, and then as the season goes on and then we get into rookie hype and whatnot, you're going to have those running backs that just rise. But, dude, I still think that the early 2nd round is going to be phenomenal again. And David Bell could very well be one of those reasons because I don't think he's going to necessarily light up the combine in his pro day. And if he ends up being like a 2nd round pick, late 2nd round pick, and you have the classic, okay, some quarterbacks rise, some of the running backs rise, all of a sudden, maybe Drake London goes above him, and then he's like wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4 of the class. Oh, baby. Stars are already aligning. I like David Bell a lot, like you guys do. I think he's a route running technician, and he's just consistent, right? And he's consistent in a wacky offense.
In terms of recent year drafts, this 2019 class feels a lot more. I mean, this 2022 class feels a lot more like the 2019 class, right? I think that's where I fall on this.
Or just overall.
Yeah. For everyone. The only thing is you just don't have that marquee guy like Kyler, where it's like he's the top pick.
29.
Well, that could easily be Matt
Burrow.
I thought this. I was going to say.
No, Burrow was 2020.
Yeah.
Oh, am I stupid? No, yeah, right?
No,
yeah,
that was
okay. Burrow's 2020.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Jake's making me question my whole existence over here.
I was
gaslighting him.
I was like, you think this class is as good as the one with like Jefferson and Burrow?
No. Yeah. You've got the Kyler. You don't have the Kyler in this class. You're gonna have. Well, we'll get to the quarterbacks in a minute, But I think there's going to be receivers that get drafted a little too high. And then I think David Bell is going to be someone that's going to end up that's falling. And I think he will be one of the better ones, a la DK Metcalf kind of thing going on there. But Frank did put out a tweet saying that he did like those early second round picks. He thinks the second round is going to be a good round. And Frank, why don't you just kick us off here with what you think about this class?
Okay, yeah. So one of the reasons why I tweeted out, I think that the early second round especially is being undervalued, right? Is that this quarterback class has been getting way too much crap for what could very realistically happen. I'm not coming out here and saying, oh, the 2022 quarterback class is amazing and everyone who needs a franchise quarterback, come on and line up because we got whole lots of them. But the fact of the matter is that we could easily have 3 to 4 super flex first round pick caliber quarterbacks. And no one seems to want to admit that. They just say, oh, quarterback class, trash. That means that all the quarterbacks suck and none of them are getting taken. We all know Matt Corral right now is looking like QB1. The guy is just playing lights out every week. Had a phenomenal game last week against Tennessee. Looks to be locked and loaded for the quarterback one of the class. Any disagreements there?
Nope.
No, it looks like it's going to be him.
Number 2, now I'm not necessarily super sold on this guy, but a lot of people that are very well respected in the industry are. And I haven't really dove into his film a lot. Malik Willis could very well be another top 15, top 20 potential first round quarterback in the NFL draft. And considering the fact that this dude has unbelievably good rushing upside for quarterbacks, not necessarily saying he's on this level, but he's around the Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson ability of running the football. He's definitely better than someone, say, Russell Wilson, who consistently for years has had a good little rushing floor, putting up anywhere between 200, 400 rushing yards, handful of touchdowns. Malik Willis could be a dude that's just dynamic with the football in his hands, getting 800, 1,000 yards in the NFL if he is a stud prospect, right?
Just to add on to that real quick, I think that's going to boost his dynasty and his fantasy outlook.
Exactly, dude.
People are going to say, oh, look at this rushing he's going to put up. Because not to point fingers here, but look at Jalen Hurts real quick. He last week looked pretty bad. Let's be honest. He didn't look good last week, and he had 2 rushing touchdowns, and he put up 25 points. So, the rushing floor is going to boost Malik Willis here in fantasy.
He just needs to be a top 10 pick, and then he's instantly a top 5 super flex pick, probably top 3.
Yep.
I was going to say, if he goes in the top 10 NFL draft, he'll definitely be top 3.
Which I think he will, just because if you think about it, there's always a team that needs a quarterback, and there's always going to be a team that's going to, slightly reach to make sure they get the quarterback they want. And Malik Willis is just a guy that screams that to me. And
even if he just goes in the first round, Lamar was still at the back half of the first round in Superflex drafts, I'm pretty sure. And with the fact that value of quarterback seems to be increasing, especially in the recent years, if he's even as a first round pick, he's going to be in the first round of Superflex drafts. That really means you need one more.
Yeah.
You need one more quarterback prospect to be a first round pick, preferably that top 20, top 15 NFL draft pick. And all of a sudden you have 3 first round Superflex quarterbacks and a relatively decent looking quarterback class.
Yeah. Real quick. Do you guys think there will be a third quarterback to get into the top 20 or no? And if you do, think who?
Yes. Carson Strong.
You think it's going to be, I feel like it's going to end up being Howell.
I think it's going to be Howell too.
I think it's going to be Desmond Ridder.
Oh,
okay.
Oh.
But you see this? You see how we just mentioned 3
Yeah,
people?
I know.
We just need one. We need one of them to pan out. And now you have 3 first-round quarterbacks. You're going to have running back. There's already a couple of decent running back prospects. Not the best running back class, but it could very well be pretty decent. And then we just mentioned that this receiver class is really strong. Dude, do not sleep on the 2022 draft class because the value of these picks has been getting shat on, it seems like, for the better part of a couple months.
I think that's the case just because people are getting ahead of themselves and looking at the 2023 class, and they're looking at the likes of, Bryce Young, DJ Uiagalelei. I don't know how to say that
Yeah, he's
guy's
not
name.
that great.
Bijan.
Bijan Robinson, even Keyshawn Booty or whatever his name is on LSU.
Yeah,
all these guys, Boutte, whatever his name is, all these guys in the 2023 class are, looking better. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have everyone come draft time is gonna be trying to buy in these picks, and everyone's gonna be trying to pick up those, late seconds, early thirds. It happens every year. And we've seen it over and over again that people underrate a draft class, and then come draft time, they're like, oh, wait, he's actually really good, though.
Well, I just struggle seeing this class compete with the 2020 and 2021. So if you go in with the expectations of that, that's where you get hurt, is if you think you're getting those kind of
Well, yeah, especially the top end. I don't think that the top end will necessarily be as strong, but 101 is still a damn good pick. Let's not act like Matt Corral isn't a very good prospect right now, and he's not a damn
Matt
good
Corral
player.
Looks like a stud.
He's not a generational guy, but he looks very good.
Yeah,
okay, but I think he looks just as good as Zach Wilson did last year. Zach Wilson went second overall and was a high dynasty pick.
Sure. Yeah. I have no complaints. I think he will be a top pick, top 5 pick in the NFL draft. He'll probably be 101 in a super flex dynasty draft. At the worst, maybe 103, 104. But I'm just, if I could, we're going to get into a different segment in a little bit, but if I could trade that kind of early first for the likes of any of the rookie quarterbacks from this year, probably not named Mac Jones or Zach Wilson. If I could trade for those top 3 guys, I would do that.
But I think that argument, the fact that the tippy top end isn't as strong as the past couple classes, is seeped into contender first round picks, and that has led some people to just be like, oh, 2022 draft class stinks. Might as well trade my 2022 first for anything that's going to be halfway decent. But come draft time, dude, the late first round is looking pretty damn good right now. There seems to be some really talented receiver prospects that are going to be available. And it's prototypical receivers, right? These guys are big. George Pickens, for example, if George Pickens comes out alongside of all the other guys that are playing right now, this receiver class stacks up with the one last year easily.
Yes.
Would you guys rather have 2022 mid first or George Kittle?
Probably Kittle.
I think still Kittle.
Yeah, I was surprised to see Kittle's. I'm sorry, I was looking on Keep Trade Cut, but Kittle was ranked exactly the same as a 2022
overreactions
mid first. 2022 late first. We're talking. All right, would you guys have this late first, or would you have Baker, Travis Etienne, Mike Evans, Tom Brady?
I'd take the late first. Mike Evans might make me consider, though.
Yeah, I'd keep Mike Evans, but
Evans, honestly, Baker makes me consider. I think
I'd have Baker. I'd take Baker.
The same. I leave
Other
Baker.
than that. All right, so it seems like it's slightly undervalued currently, the 2022.
I think especially if you need a quarterback, Baker's he's a good long-term investment. So
yeah. All right, anything else, Frank?
I mean, not really. I just don't think I'm not necessarily saying to contending teams, oh, don't sell your 2022 first round picks. And every league is obviously always so different with how they value draft picks. In some leagues, these draft picks will go for gold. And in other leagues, you'll struggle to get a halfway decent player with a draft pick. But right now, it just seems like the 2022 firsts are being really undervalued, especially if you're a contender where people are saying, oh, well, they're just assuming if you're a contender that you're going to be in the championship. So, you very well could be selling a 109 or a 110 that lands a top 3 receiver prospect this year or a pretty decent running back prospect, and you're selling it for pennies on the dollar.
Potentially even one of those quarterbacks that we mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
That is why, I mean, I'm guilty of it too. Throwing on those late firsts plus a solid receiver to then get a different receiver, like trades like that, I feel like at the time they seem fine, but then like when the draft comes and like the players picked, you're gonna be like, wow, I overpaid. Like right now, I just look Chase Claypool plus a 2022 late first equals Stephon Diggs, right? But then come draft time, that turns out to be Chase Claypool plus a David Bell or a Garrett Wilson, and you're gonna be like, oh, well, I feel like I overpaid for this one, like to get
Well,
this.
especially if you're starting a lot of players in your leagues. Like if you have a super flex spot and another flex spot and a third receiver, all of a sudden it's like, fuck, I need more players. You know, when you start getting into buy-a-gettins like we're in right now, depth all of a sudden becomes really important. That could be the difference between a win and a loss. And you never know. And sometimes, even for strong teams, that could be the difference between a playoff berth and not.
Yeah. All right. Are we going to move on?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's look at our mid-season buys. Even though we're a little early on the mid-season buys. Frank, why don't you kick us off for this one too?
So speaking of tweets that I put out, dude, and a lot of people have been saying this, so I don't think he's necessarily the best buy in the world. It's funny, like right after I tweeted that, I feel like I've seen 19,000 tweets about James Robinson, right? Like, have you guys also not seen a ton of James Robinson hype recently?
There's been a lot of that dialogue, yeah.
So I don't think I think you might be a little bit late to the party, myself included. I only have James Robinson in one of my leagues. But the fact of the matter is that James Robinson might just be really good. Like, the guy is just phenomenal. Every single time that he gets carries, he produces. He's one of the top. I think he's actually the tippy top number one running back in rushing yards over expected right now, which, I mean, if you buy into it, like, that would have predicted Derrick Henry when he was losing snaps to DeMarco Murray and Dion Lewis. His rushing yards over expected was much higher than those two running backs. And eventually, it took a coaching change, but he blossomed into one of the league's top running backs. If you buy into rushing yards over expected, well, you should be trying to buy every single share of James Robinson. And even though his price has increased, he's still not really valued as one of the top 15 running backs in Dynasty. Maybe he's right around there, but you have to still pay way more to buy any talented young running back. For James Robinson's around the David Montgomery kind of price, the Josh Jacobs kind of a price, that second tier, that RB2. So at the end of the day, he's one of the top running backs in fantasy points per game. In full PPR, he's at about 17.5 points. That's 2 points higher than DeAndre Swift. That's about 1.5 points higher than Jonathan Taylor. And that's way higher than guys like Antonio Gibson. So maybe James Robinson is the RB1 that was. He's been an RB2, RB3 this whole time.
Yeah, and so what's always so interesting with him is both seasons now, last year and this year, there's always like a reason that's limiting his price. Like last year, it was, he was like draft capital. It's just he was the only person there, etc. And then now this year, even though he's playing well again, and it's not like the offense is doing him a ton of favors, ETN being there is always going to keep his price limited. Like it's never going to reach a certain high just because everyone's always going to be like, well, they just spent a first round pick on ETN. So I'm with you in terms of if you like him and especially if you're looking for production this season, Robinson's price is never going to go too high to where like you can't buy him or just like where it's too much, because there's always going to be that factor. And then who knows what ETN's going to look like next year. And we know his foot injury is more kind of like he'll be able to play next year, but not really 100% until 2 seasons. Like we kind of saw that with Debo. So it'll be interesting. I'm with you on James Robinson being a buy.
I agree. I'm just always worried about new coaching staffs and how they feel about James Robinson. I think that's it's the external factor that you can't control. But if we're just betting on talent, like you're saying, Frank, he is a great buy.
I don't think he's the best buy in the world, and you definitely have to pay for longevity at this point. Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is that if you think that James Robinson has that potential to stick around for more than this year, and I saw someone on Twitter put it in a way that I actually kind of liked it. What if it is a Rashad Penny, Chris Carson scenario where James Robinson's even better than Chris Carson and Travis Etienne? I mean, we're going to do the mock later, but Travis Etienne has not lost like any value which is kind of funny, right? Because the dude hasn't played. He hasn't proven anything. What if James Robinson is just the better player and he continues doing that? Are you just going to say, oh, well, we drafted this guy with a first round pick, we have to play him? So it's like
I think you're going to see Etienne get his chance, just especially with this coaching staff. I don't think they fire Urban Meyer despite how bad he's been and whatnot, but I think he'll get a second season in Jacksonville. And I think he's going to give Etienne a chance, whether he actually wins touches from that, or we see like a Chris Carson situation happen where, James Robinson's just the better back and he wins the touches. I think you will see kind of an open competition come next year in training camp with a healthy Travis Etienne.
All right, Jake, who's your midseason buy?
My midseason buy is all the first round quarterbacks not named Trevor Lawrence. So we're talking Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, missing one.
Zach Wilson,
all of them.
Okay.
Thank you. All of them. I think what's going on here is over the past few seasons, whether it be Kyler Murray, whether it be Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, we've kind of come to expect these very top-end quarterbacks to produce immediately. And I don't think that's necessarily fair, especially with the situation some of these guys are in. I just think that they're going to grow and they're going to get better as the season goes on. And I think right now is the perfect time to snag them while they're low, while everyone's like, oh, he doesn't look good. He may never be good. Let's trade him now while he still has value. Meanwhile, I think most of them are going to turn around. Obviously, statistically, not all of them will. So you got to pick which ones you like, but I think the price here on these rookie quarterbacks, not named Trevor Lawrence, because I think he's pretty much retained his value just because he was the 101. No one's really going to trade him unless you're getting an absolute haul. So I think the other guys are a better buy, and it's just who you like at that point.
Jake, I have two things to say. First off, I love how all of your takes, they always have like just one caveat where it's like sell all Ravens except for J.K. Dobbins. Like buy all the rookie quarterbacks not named Trevor Lawrence. Like they all have like this one little caveat. Not bashing it. I'm just saying, I'm just pointing out something. But I am gonna bash it in that.
I never noticed it, but yeah, go on.
Dude, I just think that that's the consensus take right now is that everyone's kind of saying like, yeah, the rookie quarterbacks, man, we're spoiled by the 2020 class from guys playing well. Dude, to be honest, like, I think you're expected to fucking play well nowadays. Like, okay, I'm coming out here saying, like, obviously in your rookie season, your first couple of games, I can expect you to struggle a little bit. But fact of the matter is, like, a lot of these systems are trying to make it a lot easier on the quarterbacks now to have success earlier. So I don't think it's just it's a little bit more nuanced than just looking at the box score and being like, oh, well, he sucks. I'm going to be an apologist. I think you do have to kind of look at some of the plays and try to dissect what's going on. And I mean, that's difficult to do, right? I'm not going to come out here and act like I'm going to be a fucking expert at it.
I mean, you got to look at the situations that a lot of these guys went into. Justin Herbert went in and he had an all-pro receiver and Keenum Allen to throw the ball to. Burrow came in and had Tyler Boyd and rookie T. Higgins that are both very good weapons. You look at the situation and who are these guys throwing the ball to? Mac Jones has no one in New England. I mean, Trey Lance has Debo, but he's not playing fully yet.
I mean, the 49ers offense is fucking nasty.
No, it is, but he's not playing it. And I think once he takes the reins of that offense and fully gets the confidence of Shanahan behind him, that he's going to be a dangerous player.
Yeah.
People are just overlooking that just because, he's not playing. They're like, oh, well, if Jimmy G can beat him out. Like, I don't know. There's just a lot of, different things going on here, whether it's situation, offensive lines aren't great in front of them, weapons in general. Well, the other guys, we saw, Kyler looked okay his rookie year, but it wasn't really until he got DeAndre Hopkins where he really blossomed into what we see today. And I think there's a lot of things going on here where you got to give these guys a break.
There's two kind of factors here, though, that I think give them an added bonus, where it's like we were just talking about with the rookie quarterback class, the 2022 class. other than Matt Corral, who will probably be the number 1 overall pick, he'll be probably a top 5 pick. None of these other guys really seem to be comparing to the guys that were just drafted. Not to mention a few of the teams like the 49ers and the Bears don't even have those first-round draft picks, right? So those guys you think would be safe. Then also the free agents, it's just like Big Ben and Andy Dalton are coming out next year, I think, for free agents. So
well, no, free agent QBs, there can be some interesting situations between Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. Aaron Rodgers.
Russell Wilson. I don't think Russell Wilson's completely out of
Aaron
question.
Rodgers ain't going to the fucking Bears, and I
well, no, not that.
Assume he's not going to the Jets. Like,
no, my bad. I didn't realize you were
Rodgers
talking about specifically the teams
yeah.
with QBs.
Now.
Or the Raiders.
Pittsburgh gets some hype. I want number 12 in Pittsburgh. I don't know why the hell he would ever want to go to Pittsburgh, but
all right, but yeah, the chances of them getting Josh Rosen are so slim that you feel like you're almost positive that you're going to get a second year with these guys.
Yeah.
Well, it would take a new regime, and the only one I think that could possibly happen to is the Bears, and like JT said, Jags too, but Trevor Lawrence,
he's the first,
and Justin Fields, really, you don't have your first round pick. You're just gonna. I don't see that happen unless they trade him to a team that believes in him, right? But then he's not getting Josh Rosen.
The only other just out there factor is you've got Deshaun Watson just lingering. Who knows what that's going to be? But yeah. All right. I think we covered that subject, right? Lounis, who's your midseason buy?
I'm gonna keep defending him. Jake has said Ruggs. More receiving yards than your beloved DeAndre Hopkins. He's been. I just feel like still despite him putting up pretty good numbers this year, everyone still kind of views him in that lower tier. Like Jake's reaction just now. That's why I still think he's a buy, because I still don't think he's viewed as kind of one of the better young receivers, when statistically he has been. He's still leading that entire team in receiving yards through 6 weeks. Because I know people can say weeks 2 or 3, but it's okay, hold up, it's just weeks 2 or 3. But we're over a third into the total games that they're going to be played. He's still leading them total. He's on pace right now for 1,250 yards. I think, obviously, I don't know if he's going to get that high, but I could see him finishing around 1,000. I just think he's improved a shit ton as a receiver this year. He's kind of established himself as the number 1 outside threat. JT, were you about to say something?
Yeah, what are his stats through 6 weeks?
D-Hop is averaging 3.5 points more per game than Henry Ruggs this year.
I said receiving yards. But points, Hopkins has more. So
I just want catches, yards, touchdowns. What is catch?
20 catches for 445 yards and 2 touchdowns.
How many touchdowns?
Just 3 receptions.
2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns? All right. Would you rather have that, or would you rather have a guy who had 34, quick math, 41, 44, 49 catches, 443
I don't
yards.
care who it is. No, that one. I don't care who it is.
49 catches, 443 yards, 4 touchdowns. You'd rather have that guy?
It depends on age and everything.
Oh, second year of his career. You want that guy?
Second year.
That's a Travis Fulgham. The weeks he played, the 6 weeks he played.
Yeah, but you can.
I got Jake Hart.
I've been bamboozled. I thought you meant
that's why I wanted to wait. You can compare that to any young receiver.
That one, Travis Fulgham. Fuck.
That's why I didn't bite the bait. That's why I didn't. I was like, it's too small. It's too small a sample size for me to have just blindly
thought
say
you were
yes.
talking this year.
No, that was he missed the first 3 weeks of the season, and then that was his next 6 game.
Well, no, I mean for those kind of sample size that 6-game camp sample
that's
size.
the Henry Ruggs sample size we're working with right now.
No, but that's from just a small 6-week stretch from an undrafted wide receiver. Ruggs, I agree, he shouldn't have gone ahead of Judy and CeeDee Lamb, but he was going to go in that first round of that draft. And if you just watch him play, he seems like a much more improved receiver. And that Fulgham example, the Eagles, who is he competing with? He's competing with John Hightower for targets. At this point, Ruggs has more yards than Darren Waller. He's outproduced Bryan Edwards.
Okay, here's the problem I have with your Ruggs argument. And I mean, you just kind of haven't really covered it, so I'm not going to give you too much shit for it. But the problem with Ruggs isn't that you think that right now he's like the best receiver ever. The problem is that you have to think that he's going to be really good going forward, like for seasons to come. Because right now he's averaging the same amount of points per game as Tim fucking Patrick. And he's right around guys like Hunter Renfrow, Jacoby Myers, AJ Green, these types of players, and then Marvin Jones and Christian Kirk and Corey Davis and Jamison Crowder and shit are all ahead of him. So if I need right now production, I'm just going to go for one of those cheaper options. But if I think that Henry Ruggs is going to be really good for years to come and going to live up to that draft capital, then I agree that it's a really fantastic buy low scenario. So I want you to convince me there than saying that he's sick
I'm not saying he's a contender by necessarily seeing like, oh, he's someone he's going to like right now. He's going to open your shit ton right away. But I've just been really impressed by his by how much he's improved as a receiver from his rookie year to this year. Like if you just watch him play, he doesn't look like the same guy as he did last season. And those stats are they've had a few different times this year where him and Derek Carr were just like a yard or two off on some of those deep passes where it would have been another 70-yard touchdown, another 65-yarder.
Would you value him over Ayuk right now?
I'd rather have Ruggs than Ayuk.
What about Michael Pittman?
I'd rather have Ruggs than Michael Pittman.
What about Jerry Jeudy?
That's a good question. Those two are close for me right now.
Because you're starting to get into the realm where you'd give up a first for him.
That's what I'm saying.
Like I don't think you've reached it yet, but you're getting close.
What is it? It is. I think for me, value-wise, it is close. That's why I'm saying I think he's a buy right now, and the price you can get him is like a 205. If you trade a pick 205 from 204. Your reaction just earlier was just dismissing him.
Yeah, but Jake is a hater. He would never have him.
That's not true. That's not true. I like
half the podcast hates Ruggs.
The problem is it's a mixing paradox because whoever took him probably took him at pick 111 or 112 last year in the rookie draft, and they're not going to sell him for anything less.
Last offseason, he was going for a lot less. I'm saying
it's a mixing paradox. I just love that.
His perception across the entire Dynasty community is still not very high, and he's outproducing or been on par with a lot of other young receivers. And if you just look at his how much he's improved, and just I don't know, I just think he's continued to prove people wrong on a week-to-week basis. I've been impressed with how much he's improved as a receiver, not just numbers-wise, but if you just watch him, he's making a bunch of plays he would have never made last year. He's making a bunch of catches, better routes, better footwork than he's made last year, and his chemistry is a million times better with Carr. And that's still like there's some every week or every other week there's like a 60-yard touchdown that Carr just barely overthrows, and the timing is just getting better. And he torched the Denver secondary.
The problem is that you have to pay for that. Like to me, it's not about whether Ruggs can play or not. It's about is he worth that late first round pick? And to me, it's no.
What's his trade cut value right now around JT?
Oh, I'm on, boys. Henry Ruggs.
If he breaks over 1,000 yards this year, oh sorry, Jake, you can go ahead.
What's the difference on keep trade cut between Marvin Jones and Henry Ruggs?
Well, obviously, like Henry Ruggs' longevity is way.
You gotta give up an early second on top of Marvin Jones to get Henry Ruggs.
Right, and I think there's a good chance Marvin Jones finishes higher than him this year.
Well, that's what I said. I'm not talking about specifically this year. I just meant a buy from a dynasty aspect. I'm not saying this is one for specifically contenders. I'm just talking about dynasty in general. I have a question.
He's in the realm of a 2022 late first is too much. A 2022 early second is not enough. He's like that kind of.
Okay. Like if I could buy him for 201, I would. Like if I had 201 in this draft class, I'd use that to get Ruggs.
Yeah, I might pass on that there.
If I have a question, if he finishes over 1,000 yards this season, what would you guys' general perception of him be?
Not different. Yeah.
If he finishes over 1,000, if I told you guys before the season he finishes over 1,000 total yards and leads the Raiders in like receiving yards, you guys would tell me to just go kill myself.
When we're talking 1,000 yards, I might do that regardless of what's going on.
Yeah.
But if it's,
but I'm saying you can't say it. That's what I'm saying with him. The goalposts keep moving because you said you'd view him the same. But if I told you he had 1,000 yards before the season started, you would have never believed that.
1,000 yards this year is different than 1,000 yards in any other year because we do have the extra.
Well, I
game.
mean, even taking into account the 17th game, if I told you that before the season started, you would have said not even close.
I mean, I would have probably put my estimate on him would have probably been what, 800 yards, 850 yards. Great, so that's an extra 10 yards a game, and he gets it. Like it's not that big a difference.
Last year he had 4.
I don't even think anyone was saying 850.
My problem with Ruggs is that I am still not seeing the fucking targets, dude. Like, okay, if he was getting 8-9 targets a game, yeah, I'll go gung ho and buy him with a first round pick. But the fact of the matter is,
like
is
4
that
targets a game.
Yeah, he the most targets he's had is 7 targets. He's had it 2 games. It's all right. Like, yeah, he's not a bad player. But if I'm buying a receiver, I want to buy a receiver that gets a lot of targets. And Ruggs in year 2, he's gotten a little bit more. There's definitely been an uptick, but
this is why I'm saying
I want the juicers.
This is why I'm saying now to any believers who are listening, the buy opportunity is still there.
Look,
the dynasty community is still low on him, and he's going to be a 22-year-old first round receiver who breaks 1,000 yards.
Well, the buy opportunity, I don't know, because
I'm saying the dynasty community is still low on him. Like, I'm someone who believes in him.
In your eyes, yeah. In your eyes, we're still low on him. But, like, to me, Henry Ruggs is worth a late second plus Corey Davis. I'd rather have that. I just think late second and Corey Davis. Corey Davis is relatively still, like, he's 27, 28.
Maybe if I'm trying to win this year, maybe. If I'm not, if I'm just kind of a meddling team, I don't think I have a legit shot at the chip. I would take the first-round pick who's now playing well in his second season. We'll see. We'll come back to it. We'll see how his end of the season.
I'd rather just buy him when he's good. Like, if he becomes sick, then okay, sweet, I'll go buy him. Because I like, to me right now, what it sounds like is it'd take me a late first or some sort of creative variation around a late first. Like, maybe I get a third back or something to go pick him up, and I just don't want to pay that. If I need points, I'll go pick up some cheaper dude. Like, if you like him a lot long term, that's fine. I'm still not sold long term.
I'm a fan. I'm telling you guys, this is more messages to the listeners. If you guys like him, especially if you're a Raiders fan, if you watched a lot of him, the opportunity is still there. I think he's a shit ton better this season.
If you're a Raiders fan, go get him.
No, because I just mean if you've watched him. If anyone's just like watched him, it's not the same receiver from last season. Making plays he never would have made last year. And I mean, the numbers will back it up. Like, it'll be over 1,000 and you'll say like, it's still the same, but you guys said like 650 or 700 during the summer. But I'll come back to him.
All right. We spent a lot of time on
Lounis is out here for blood.
Dude, I'm just saying, man. I'm saying the buy window.
You need like a little shirt that says like Ruggs #1 fan, or like a foam finger or something.
All right. I have a different second-year wide receiver as my buy, and that's T. Higgins. So T. Higgins is performing under expectations currently. But a lot of that has to do with he did have a shoulder injury. The emergence of Jamar Chase definitely has fancy rosters colder on him. It's just like, I think T. Higgins is still a very talented wide receiver. I think he can be a wide receiver 1. Like, I think it's more likely than not T. Higgins has 1 or 2 years of wide receiver 1 numbers, and that currently is not getting priced into it. I think we've seen it before with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen last year. Like, there are teams that can sustain 2 wide receiver 1s on their team. And I think a team of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins is a team that can do it. And to me, that just makes the perfect buy opportunity for T. Higgins. He's someone I would definitely go. I don't know. Short and succinct.
Would you buy him over Courtland Sutton?
Yes.
Oh, I like both of them, but yeah, I'd rather have T. Higgins. I like both of them a lot. It's just
what about Amari Swooper?
Yeah, yes. Definitely.
Interesting.
Anyone else? I'll probably say yes.
Claypool.
Yes.
Not even close.
Yeah, you guys would rather have Higgins than Claypool?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it's closer for me, but yeah, I'd rather have.
Not even close. Really What's the gap between the two for you?
Late first.
Oh,
what?
Yikes!
I'd rather have Claypool straight up.
I mean, we're talking you literally just said what I was saying earlier with when you're spending like a Claypool plus a late first for the receiver, that kind of makes me feel bad when I get to the draft time. But yeah, I like Higgins more than Claypool.
Damn.
A decent.
Well, actually, no, that's fine. I was surprised that Claypool in a first.
Call it an early second, whatever you want to say. Like,
Still.
Close to there.
Okay, so you're really high on Higgins.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done anything this year because he's hurt.
Would you guys rather have like a let me think, Higgins or like a Deontay Johnson, or rank Deontay Higgins over Deontay Johnson too?
Yeah, I'm low on Deontay Johnson.
CD Lamb.
Are
you going as far as CD?
No.
Okay,
but it's close.
So there's the line.
Like Higgins, I have more in that like right around DJ Moore realm. A little.
Oh wait, no. Here's a good one. Higgins or Debo?
Oh, that's another one I really like a lot, but I think I'd still go to Higgins.
Mm-hmm. Higgins.
Okay, those two are really close.
Debo's, I don't know why, scares me still.
Yeah, at this point he shouldn't. But all right,
I know. I still have some inkling in the back of my head that it's going to scare me.
But that's fair about Higgins. What's Higgins' price on Keep Trade Cut right now? Like, what is he near? Both draft pick wise and players.
Well,
I do agree with you in terms of the fact that
he's currently ranked behind Chase Claypool on Keep Trade Cut. I disagree with that. I mean,
a lot of the
guys that Frank said in terms of receivers are around there. Cortland Sutton, Amari Cooper. I'd definitely rather have Higgins than Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. Yeah, Debo,
all of those Devontae Smith
all
is
ranked
close.
above him. Cooper Kupp, I'd have T Higgins over. Yeah, I'd have T Higgins. I mean, I'd have to look on 3rd20.com.
Do you think
rankings right
I don't know if you updated your rankings this week. Is he in your top 12 overall receivers?
T Higgins? No.
I will check. It's probably close.
But he's close. If he's not 12, he's top 15.
Yeah, and he's currently ranked as wide receiver. I just saw him. Wide receiver 23 on Keep Trade Cut.
Okay.
At one point, he was up to, I think wide receiver 14 was his peak on Keep.
He was really high last offseason. With Devy, but with Claypool going up. I mean, I do agree with you guys. I do think he's being a little bit undervalued right now. I do like him more than guys like Jeudy and Sutton. He's kind of close to like Debo and Claypool. I have Claypool slightly ahead because I think Claypool is in a similar situation to Higgins, where I think both of their production is going to increase, and like them, I guess if you want to consider them slightly underperforming this year, I don't expect that to continue for either. I guess the biggest fear with Higgins is everyone's gonna this isn't for me because I agree with you guys that he's being underrated. I'm saying what the consensus thought is everyone's thought is going to be like, because he's never going to be like the number one. But we've seen like good number. Like we saw Mike Evans and Chris Godwin for years. We've seen plenty of receiver duos where both of them can go for 1,000+ multiple years in a row.
DK Lockett, Cooper Kupp.
Oh yeah, like the two receivers on the same team argument should be debunked right now. Okay, maybe it limits your upside of literally being the number one receiver in fantasy football, but
you need like a decent enough quarterback who can sling it a lot, and I think Burrow can support both of them.
Well, the problem I have with Higgins right now as a buy is that you have to be gung-ho about him for it to be a good value deal for you right now. Like you have to be a JT or a Jake and say, yeah, I'd much rather have T Higgins than Cortland Sutton, or maybe, I value T Higgins over the current price of Deontay Johnson right now, and fairly comfortably. Then you might be able to get a deal done for him. But it's not like rosterers have forgotten about last year and the potential that T Higgins has, and the fact that a lot of people are also high on him. So you have to still pay a pretty penny for him, but it is possible if you value him really highly and are willing to pay that price.
Fair.
I have a question. I have a question to Jake and JT, because I know you guys are the two highest on him. What do you guys see his peak being? I know we kind of had this discussion with DJ Moore, where
top 5.
You kind of thought he could be like a top 5. We said, me and Frank were kind of on the side where like I think he's gonna be. We think he's gonna be
question.
Like somewhere in the 8 to 8 to 11 range like multiple years in a row. Like, what do you think like his ceiling is? Do you think he
I
can have like top 5 seasons?
Yes, I think we see a wide receiver 5 overall season, followed by a wide receiver 10, followed by another wide receiver 10. Like, I just think you see that kind of like the
So you think he's gonna have like
more
multiple
arc we're
years
seeing
in like
right
the
now.
top 10, top 12?
Yeah.
Okay. No, yeah, I just wanted to see where you guys.
What
had his,
about
like,
you,
ceiling
Mr.
around.
Hankman?
I agree. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily see a top 5 production out of him like JT does, but I definitely see, multiple finishes in the 7 to 11 range, firmly in that wide receiver 1 category from him.
The thing I'll say is we either need, as our us Bengals fans, like I have up here, we need Zach Taylor out, or for him to drastically change his philosophy for that to happen. But I do think one of those two things will happen. Like,
my embargo on Bengals players is still there until Zach Taylor's out.
The problem with Zach Taylor leaving, they have a good record. As of right now, they're not going to fire him if they keep playing like how they are.
They have a good record in spite of Zach Taylor, I feel like.
I know, but it's.
Can they
Zach Taylor just needs to put his headphones on, be locked in a room, and have to listen to that freaking little segment that Chargers coach Brandon Staley gave about the fact that you don't need to actually run the ball 30 times. You just need to make it seem like there's the threat of the run.
All right. Now we got our quick sells. Who are we selling?
Some sells.
Yeah. All right. Who's taking it first?
I'm taking it first.
Okay.
And I'm going Chuba Hubbard is my first sell.
Okay.
Yes.
Because of the fact that we're looking on keep trade cut of players that are overvalued. Listen, I like Chuba Hubbard. You can firmly, it seems like, get a second round pick for him. I will gladly take that and re-roll it on a receiver that has way better long-term outlook than Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, I was about to say I saw him go for an early second in another league. What I was saying this pre-pod, and I'm saying it now. Like, as long as you think on Mike Davis this year and what he's done in Atlanta, what Hubbard's doing in that Carolina offense, Mike Davis just did last year with better numbers. Like, Mike Davis was putting up RB1 numbers last year in that offense, with how they use the running back and how much their offense is centered around it. So. Maybe I'm trying to sell for a second to the McCaffrey owner, especially McCaffrey just got put on IR.
Anyone.
If anyone's willing to sell a second. Yeah.
Because he's relevant in redraft right now, he has a little bit of name value to him, which
while we're on
whether
the
you
topic,
think it or not, it helps.
While we're on the topic of the Carolina Panthers, the guy that he backs up, Christian McCaffrey, what is your guys' thoughts on his injuries? Because now this is 2 seasons in a row. We've seen him be out for a significant amount of time. Do you just say cash in, and while he's a top 5 overall Dynasty Superflex asset, get a haul? I don't know what I'm necessarily thinking, but it's just a thought that's crossed my head multiple times, just because it's now 2 seasons in a row of an injury that's going to linger. We've already seen it. People thought he was going to be back, and now they just put him on IR. So
if my team without him resembles anything of a contender, like I think I can make the playoffs. No, just because he's got league winning potential.
I was
correct.
Say,
when he plays, he's a cheat code.
I know. I'm saying unless my team's like rebuilding, unless your team's rebuilding, Christian McCaffrey is the ultimate hack of fantasy football. Like, it's. If you think your team's gonna make the playoffs, when he plays, he's a lock from like 25 to 35 on a week to week. He's a hack. It's literally, it's such an advantage that you have on a week to week basis. I can say with my roster, whenever he plays, it's kind of like a guarantee around like 200. Like, he just brings the roster up so much, and it gives you such an advantage. If you don't think you're gonna make the playoffs without him, then I might listen to some. But if you think you're a playoff team, then in my opinion, he's too good to just sell now.
No sell, playoffs or not, no sell. Speaking of Mr. Christian McCaffrey, JT, you know it's coming.
Oh yeah, I heard about this.
My next sell is easily DeAndre Swift. I have seen way too many people, not even just saying that he's a top 5 Dynasty RB. the fact that he is the number 1 running back or number 2 behind Jonathan Taylor in Dynasty, to me, is quite frankly absurd.
Insane.
It'd be a real shame if someone had
I
both
don't
those
think
guys.
right now he's in the top 12 in average points per game for running backs. So I don't even know why he would be
Pretty sure he is.
that high. Dude, this dude he's just a bad runner in between when they give him the ball and
All right,
handoff.
you want to know? You have your what's it? Rushing yards over RYOP, whatever.
Rushing
do you know
yards
who's
over expected?
Do you know whose circles are literally like right on top of each other? Like right on top of each other? It's DeAndre Swift and Christian McCaffrey.
Are you
like
sure
when you have
about
pass
that?
catching
Because
backs?
on NFL Next Gen Stats, I'm pretty sure he's like the last running back by their metrics at like -90.
Look, we have a graph here, right? It's rushing. I don't know if you're not going to be able to see this, but it's rushing yards over expected in EPA. So we got EPA per rush, and we got rushing yards over expected per rush. You need at least 25 rushes, and it was through the 6 weeks. DeAndre Swift is here. He's like slightly to the left of Christian McCaffrey.
Was that rushing yards over expected or rushing yards over expected per run?
It's rushing yards over expected per rush. And EPA per rush. You're taking both into factor on this chart. So the vertical axis is rushing yards over. We're getting a little too nerdy for just normal listeners, but like rushing yards over expected per rush is the vertical axis. EPA per rush is the horizontal. Rushing yards over expected, Christian McCaffrey and DeAndre Swift are essentially the same. EPA, Christian McCaffrey is slightly to the right.
Rushing yards over expected, last place, DeAndre Swift, right here.
We just need to look at per rush, Frank. That's all I need from you.
My problem with Swift being
I
high,
have Elijah Mitchell as dead last.
my problem with him being that high, if you still look at the season just as like rushing in total, I know that analytics does go build in his favor. In the 6 games, he has 2 where he averaged over 4 yards a carry, and has 2 games where he averaged 2 yards or less per carry. I still like him a lot. He's in my top 10 dynasty backs. I just can't go top 5 because I know this is the next topic, and I don't know if you want to merge, but it's like if you want to compare him to some of the younger backs, I don't know if I would rather have him than to Javonte Williams. I know Swift is going to be better this season. I'm just looking at the potential ceilings. I'm not taking him over Jonathan Taylor. I think you would agree with that.
It's just I'm watching these Lions games and I'm seeing like, cool. He's good for fantasy. You know, he's getting these garbage time drives where he's catching a couple footballs and getting a late game touchdown and he saves his day. It's just the fact that we are crowning that the dynasty RB1 when there are like Christian McCaffreys exist and Dalvin Cooks are still averaging 4 or 5
he's
more
3-4
points
years
per
younger
game.
than both those guys.
Yeah, but I don't care. Like Christian McCaffrey's averaging 20 points per game.
Christian McCaffrey is on
at
IR
the same
now.
age. You know, he's a dynasty RB1. Alvin Kamara was averaging around 20 points per game in his
What's he doing right
season.
now? What's he doing right now?
JT,
DeAndre Swift's above him.
If you want to make a bet,
if you want to
going to finish higher,
him,
Alvin Kamara and Christian McCaffrey,
if
DeAndre Swift in points per game, I'll gladly take you up on that.
If we're just taking the current standings, then I'm taking Najee Harris any day of the week over DeAndre Swift. Najee Harris is RB3.
No.
Let's talk about current points.
Oh well. I'm glad you
And
brought up Najee
where it's
Harris.
not
He's my Najee Harris. If we want to talk about actual inefficient runners that are just in a product of their situation,
Doesn't Najee Harris have
is
like
myself.
a shit ton of like getting contact behind the line of scrimmage?
No, Najee Harris has a
Steelers
shit ton of empty boxes that he's running into. That's why we're seeing anything from Najee Harris. Najee Harris just has a very good
empty boxes.
Yes, Najee Harris
can't throw the ball 5 yards.
I know. That's what's crazy. The defenses still aren't stacking the boxes. Najee Harris has seen some of the least amount of 8-man plus boxes in the NFL for rushing.
And he's had the worst rushing O-line. You can maybe not like number 1 worst.
Okay. Najee Harris is a product of like a great role. He's in a great spot where it's just like he's going to get those carries. He gets the production that he needs. But when you see Najee Harris run, you want to talk about and Najee Harris is not the pass catcher that DeAndre Swift is. Like you see Najee Harris and don't look at me like that. If Najee Harris would have came out last year. If Najee Harris was better than, I've said this so many times, we're going to keep it short. But if Najee Harris was better than DeAndre Swift, Najee Harris would have came out last year. He didn't come out last year. There are reasons why. It's very simple. Why are you staying in the NFL for another year unless you think you're not going to be a first-round pick? Why?
But to
you
me,
doing that?
Najee Harris is DeAndre Swift with actual rushing upside. Najee Harris gets more targets. He's in a similar role where if the Steelers are ever down to DeAndre in garbage time, well, guess who's getting all the targets? Najee Harris. Just like how DeAndre Swift has saved all of his weeks every single season, is in that fourth quarter garbage time, just a couple of dump offs. Najee Harris, dude, he gets that and more. Look at the Bengals game where he got 20 targets on that. On top of the fact that when the Steelers are in the game,
what did he do with his 20 targets? What did Najee Harris do with his 20 targets?
What do you mean?
Because of PPR. Because of PPR, he didn't actually gain many yards.
He's RB3. He's RB3.
You want to talk about a running back that's living off of PPR? That is all of DeAndre Swift's points is PPR points. That is literally all of his points. It's just a couple of dump offs for 7 yards. When the defense is funneling the ball to the running back so that they can't get these big chunk plays at the end of the game.
Najee Harris in that Cincinnati game had 14 carries for a grand total of 40 yards and 19 targets for 100 yards. That's
19 targets, bro.
Yes,
19 targets.
Yes. He's a product of a great role. He's just in a great role. He gets those dump offs. He's
in a great role because they spent a first-round pick on his ass, and he's super fucking talented.
Compared to DeAndre Swift's way later pick, 34 overall. Sure, they spent that first-round pick on him, which I think was a complete overdraft. I don't know. We're going to spend way too much time on this. It's just the debate of ages. I just remember you guys.
JT, who finishes ahead in the rankings at the end of the season between those two backs?
Between Najee and Swift?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna say Swift, but it'll be close. I just think like the 5-year outlook of these two guys, Swift is just miles and miles ahead of Najee.
Okay. We'll see because Najee, dude, that's the thing with him. He's a numbers machine.
Alvin Kamara, if he's this Austin Eckler, if he's this Christian McCaffrey type of running back, I mean, those guys get good production backs. Running the football that all average over generally, aside from.
Well, we want to talk about good production. We want to talk about good production. DeAndre Swift's one of the most efficient running backs with goal line carries. Like that, you give him the ball near the goal line, he's going to score.
Okay, you give him the ball anywhere else, and he gets 2 yards.
So, I don't care anymore. Literally, just pass him the ball. I would like to see DeAndre Swift stack box percentage. I don't have it in front of me. I don't know what it is.
He's at 3.3 yards a carry.
Yards per carry is such a bait, especially when you have someone like DeAndre Swift who's getting goal line carries.
I mean, I think when it's like small carries, but
he doesn't get a lot of carries, so it is a small thing. It is a small sample size.
Okay, yeah, but what running back has been elite, averaging 3.3 or below yards per carry? You could even do like 3.5.
3.5 or less.
Like Najee Harris is 3.8 yards per carry.
Behind the significantly worse O-line.
Against non-stacked boxes.
I don't understand the stacked boxing because like the Steelers are getting.
If there's more defenders, it's easier to tackle. If there are more defenders, listen,
JT, I understand that. I'm not a fucking idiot. But when you're watching these Steeler games, they might be running 2 high safeties, but there's no off man. All these corners are playing super fucking tight because that's how people beat the Steelers.
I mean, and that's the thing I'll bring up about their 2 O-lines. The Steelers O-line has been shit for everyone. Like the Detroit O-line, Jamal Williams is averaging 4.3 yards per carry behind it this year.
I will give JT that argument. I don't really think that the Detroit O-line and the Steelers offensive line are much different.
Those Detroit lines and all their receivers, I think
the Lions O-line sucks as well. So like it's 2 running backs behind shitty O-lines. Let's not start crowning slightly less shit over other crap, you know?
Yeah. All right. Somehow my computer is actually getting close.
All right, yeah, we got to we'll revisit this debate.
Go grab my charger. Yeah. I mean, I'll beat this to death. You guys were clowning me for saying I'd rather have Swift than Dalvin Cook before.
All right, JT, get your charger because I'll segue us into the mock.
I'll be right back.
So last segment of the day, this should be a fun one. I'm really excited for this. We're going to call it a 5-second draft. Basically, we're going to redraft the 2021 rookie class. not almost halfway through the season, but we're enough games to where there's been a little bit of deviation from August. So we're going to go through. We have 5 seconds to pick and go through 2 rounds of the draft. Let me get this.
Let's
on
fucking do it. I'm hyped.
What's the order? What are we doing?
So yeah, that's the first
just
thing that
make
needs to be
JT
decided
last.
is that I'm going to randomize the order. Random is on the
JT's
screen.
back.
Here we go. Did that actually randomize?
Are we doing snake?
Okay, here we go. JT 1, Jake 2, Frank 3, Lounis 4. And yes, it's a snake draft.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, what pick do I have?
You're at pick 1.
Ah.
Jake 2, Frank 3, Lounis 4.
All
We
right,
have 5 seconds to pick. Now, there's not going to be like an actual timer, but you gotta
fill in fast.
You gotta pick quickly.
Okay.
So be ready.
So I'm 4, right? Yeah.
Hold on. Let me get this. Let me get the board on the screen, and then we can start.
Are we just doing snake? So like I'm picking 104 and 105.
Lounis, it's color coded. It's color coded.
Oh shit!
We laid it out for you.
I just scrolled down. That's my fault.
Bang time. Here we go. Draft board on the screen. Let me see if I can make this a little bit smaller. Right before we start. Yeah, here we go. Look at this. This is majestic.
So funny.
All right, board is on the screen. Let's get started.
The total boss.
JT, you're up. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, you are crazy.
Oh crap.
Oh my goodness.
So first pick, Jamar Chase. Second pick, Trevor Lawrence.
Did I get Trey Lance at 104?
103, Kyle Pitts. 104, Trey Lance. Justin Fields, 106. I'm gonna go Najee at 106.
Oh, jeez.
107, Justin Fields 105, Najee 106.
It's weird with the color. It's weird with the colors because I think they're positions when I normally see colors.
Yeah.
Jake,
All right,
5 seconds,
Jake.
almost up.
Whoa.
Jalen Waddle. Oh
What?
shit. Jalen Waddle 107.
That's some fucking insane picks. What the fuck?
I'm trying to look to see who's still
What?
there.
Rashad
Bateman.
Oh my.
What?
I'm sticking to my guns.
Oh my.
Oh, I'm up.
Dude,
again.
I had Bateman as 106. I had Bateman as one.
Oh
Okay,
my
wait. This.
God.
All right, hold on. For podcast
How
people,
is
right? This is
Bateman
not
ahead
going to
of
be a
Mac
great segment.
Jones?
All right, for podcast people, I'm going to rerun this, right? We got Jamar Chase 101. This is super flex, by the way. Jamar Chase 101,
Jesus.
Trevor Lawrence 102, Kyle Pitts 103, Trey Lance 104, Justin Fields 105, Najee Harris 106, Jalen Waddle 107, Javonte Williams 108, Rashad Bateman 109,
Green, you're
110
up.
Mac Jones, 111 Zach Wilson. Lewis is now up at 112.
My
Lounis,
God.
5 seconds is up, bro.
Yeah,
you
shut up,
gotta
Lounis,
get
sorry.
this going. You forfeit your
Well,
pick.
All the quarterbacks been taken. Yeah, I'm sorry. The colors are throwing me off.
Colors are throwing
It's
me
colors, Lounis. This is first grade stuff.
I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anyone.
Of course, Lewis goes
Oh, you
Kardarius
do
Toney
have
112.
back-to-back picks, which is tough.
And then I'll probably still. Am I forgetting someone? No, I'm not forgetting anyone,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, you probably are.
Who am I
Yes, you
forgetting?
are.
Devontae Smith.
I yoinked him.
Oh my
Sorry.
God.
Lewis took ETN at 201. Frank took Devontae
No.
Smith
Oh
at
wait,
202.
I just changed my 111, my 112, my 112.
Dude,
pick.
you took 19 seconds on that
no,
pick.
no.
It's supposed
Go
to be a
back.
5-second
No, listen.
drive.
I updated it. I completely
No.
forgot about Devontae Smith.
Yeah, and I forgot about Javonte Williams. We live and we learn. Let's go.
All right, fine. I'll go Rondell Moore.
Who's
we're
now,
at-
Jake?
Where are we at? So
now I
we
got
have Devontae
screwed.
Smith 112, Tony 201, Rondell Moore 202.
Zach Wilson should be taken here.
I
Zach
already
Wilson's
took
been
Zach Wilson.
gone. Where are you? Lewis?
Lounis, come on, man.
This guy is just out here. Oh god, I have 2 picks coming up. I don't know.
Oh, here it's getting cut off. Part of the draft.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's bring it up here.
203, you're up. You're taking
Yeah, it's a
year.
solid stall, Jake.
Oh, my bad. I'm gonna take your boy.
Oh, what? I mean, I agree with it. I was just about to take him, but what?
Jesus Christ.
I'll go Diami Brown. And then for 205, I will take. This is where I'm starting to sputter out here. I think I gotta do it because he's not coming back to me. I also don't know how to spell his last name.
No, why? Why the move? on. No.
Oh, Etienne is no longer. I thought Etienne. I probably still wouldn't have taken Etienne. to be
Crap,
honest.
I'm running out of people.
All right, to recap for pod people, Rondale Moore went 202, Terrace Marshall 203, Diami Brown 204, Pat Frymouth 205, Travis Etienne 206, Elijah Moore 207. He's falling.
Oh,
wow.
God.
Lounis goes
Lounis.
Trey Sermon.
Oh,
Lounis is clowning us. He managed to take Toney over Devontae Smith before realizing Devontae's
I just forgot about Devontae Smith.
He's now taking Trey Sermon at 208.
He's going to take both Niners backs. Don't worry.
Oh, no. He goes Kent Gainwell 209.
Dude, I'm choking here. I'm going to go with your boy, Elijah Mitchell.
Frank takes Elijah
210.
Mitchell 210. That's
Can't
good. I
spell his
really
name
want
either.
Elijah Mitchell.
Amenra 211.
I really wanted Elijah Moore. I was hoping you guys would
Oh,
get him.
all right. Mr. Irrelevant.
Who would I take if I were here?
Yeah, I mean, to me, there's
I mean, if you still
Someone-
like Mond, but probably not.
Gainwell.
I just took
Gainwell's
Gainwell.
gone. I went with Nico Collins at 212.
Yeah,
we haven't really seen a whole
I
lot
don't
from
hate
him yet.
Nico
But
Collins. I think
He
the only
just got, like,
person
6 targets
I
last
consider.
that's true.
I might have considered Michael Carter, but I think that's about it.
All right, are we able to? Let me.
Wow,
zoom
what
out
a
of this.
crazy. If you're a podcast, if you're listening to us on the podcast, I'm sorry. That was just a crazy.
Yeah, that
I'll
was a
recap-
shit show.
I'll recap it for podcast. Lounis was also surprised by every pick, but then managed to get some of the worst picks in the later parts of the draft.
All right, that's good. That's good enough.
Jamar Chase was
which one do you
101.
like? Which one do you hate the Tony? I
Yeah,
like
well,
Tony.
you took Tony at 112 over.
Well, no, that's
Devontae,
just
who-
because if I had a draft board in front of me, I wouldn't.
Trey
have made
Sermon
that.
at 208 also. at this
Lounis,
point
that was
not
the whole.
great.
That was the whole point of this.
Yeah,
What, to not have a
Elijah.
draft board?
Yeah,
Yeah, you took a good 40 seconds on that 112 pick
Yeah.
and then changed it.
had a bunch of time. Yeah, he had a bunch of time too at 208, and then took Trey Sermon, forgetting that Elijah Mitchell existed.
No, I didn't forget about.
Ludus, man. Ludus. Get your shit together, man.
I
All
didn't
right, now
forget
let's
about
talk
Elijah
about it.
Mitchell.
Let's talk about this stuff. We can go
All right.
through
I
consensus as
still would
well.
rather own Trey Sermon than Mitchell in Dynasty.
All right, here's consensus on the screen. So consensus according to Keep Trade Cut, Najee Harris 101, Jamar Chase 102, Kyle Pitts, T. Law, Trey Lance, Javonte Williams, Justin Fields, Devontae Smith, Waddle, Mac Jones, Travis Etienne, Zach Wilson at 12. First pick of the second round here in the 12-man draft, Kardarius Toney, then Rondale Moore, Bateman, Elijah Moore, Terrace Marshall, Elijah Mitchell, Chuba Hubbard, Michael Carter, Kenneth Gainwell, Khalil Herbert, Pat Freiermuth, and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I mean, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Najee Harris went 106 in our draft. Like, I'm taking DeAndre Swift over most of these guys. I think all of these guys, to be fair. And we had Najee going 106, but we were just debating DeAndre Swift.
I mean,
versus
I think he probably should go.
Najee
little
Harris.
higher.
I mean, no, DeAndre Swift in this draft for me would probably go 108.
Yeah, you're wild.
I'd take Najee and Javonte. I think
You got a lot
Javonte
of
and Swift are
haters.
close to. I don't know why Waddle's going 107.
That
Unless
was-
you made a
Yeah.
mistake. Unless you just forgot
mean,
about people.
he forgot about Javonte.
I forgot about
Forgot about
Javonte.
Dude, he
Javonte,
loves
okay.
Waddle, all right? He's a
But I
big
do
guy.
love-
Okay.
Dude had 13 targets last week. I don't
I'm
For
know
like
why.
for like
do that.
60 yards.
Yeah, it's more targets than Henry Ruggs had in his life.
Wait, didn't you like Waddle? Like, weren't you like the highest of us on Waddle?
No, I
before?
liked
Oh.
Waddle. I just think him at 107 is kind of crazy. I said he's still a late first for me.
All right, so let's get into it, though.
So wait, hold on.
biggest
hold on.
changes
What-
from
So
August?
what? You just swap him
He's-
with Javonte? Is that your only swap here?
No, I'd probably take Devontae Smith over him. I think him and Tony are close. Him, Tony, and Rondale
Hey,
Moore are
you
in the
had
same tier.
you had Waddle over Devontae pre-draft.
Pre-draft, am I not
What-
like
what
it's-
makes
after
it-
after 6 weeks of watching rookies?
Yeah, what
like,
makes
it's-
Devontae Smith that much better than Waddle over these 6 weeks?
He's just looked like a better receiver to me.
Jalen Waddle,
What have you
I
been
think,
watching?
has outproduced him. Yeah.
What have you been watching?
There's the Eagles bias really kicking in now.
If anything,
Yeah.
Eagles. No, I just think Devontae Smith has looked like the better receiver. He's looked like a better route runner. He's
No,
played
he
more
has
games.
not.
Yeah, he has.
Route
Devontae
running
Smith
is
is
such a
Frank.
route running is what you see with your own eyes. Like
I
route
want to
running
talk
is
about
just a
how the
bias.
mock draft has changed and actually get into the segment we were supposed to talk about instead of just.
I mean, we kind of are because Luna's
kind of are. We're
pre-draft.
talking-
Luna's pre-draft. Let's look at it. If we go down, we could see our final after the rookie mock draft. Lunas had Jalen Waddle at pick. Let's see, one. Oh, maybe Lunas was lower on Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, y'all can suck it.
Here's
Lunas
what
had
I
Waddle
want
as
to
well.
bring up is
Yeah, and I Devontae Smith ahead.
At 108, yeah. All right. I could have just sworn though that you were always the guy
I like
going like,
Waddle.
look,
I
yeah.
like Waddle. I like him. I just think
just
like
Devontae
Waddle
Smith is a
until
better
the Eagles
receiver.
took Devontae Smith.
Dude,
Yeah, I think that's
I feel
gotta
like-
be it.
I feel
It's
like
gotta
all
be
right,
it.
guys.
I'm not
All right,
alone
all right.
on it.
First thing
Devontae-
I find interesting about the mock compared to August and compared to a lot of other drafts is actually how in both our mock and in the keep trade cut values right now, how there are a lot of running backs filling out the mid to end of the second round, which is usually not the way you see that happen. You usually see those running backs either skyrocket up to like a late first, early second in value, or kind of fizzle out into that third round, fourth round, or just crap tier. But right now, they seem to kind of just be filling out a lot of this middle section and replacing some of the receivers that were picked in the end of the second round.
Yeah, I mean, I think the surprise pick for us was, Lunas took Trey Sermon at 208. I think people probably expected him to fall a little more. He was probably taken around 203 to 205 in the rookie drafts. So he only fell about three, 4 spots in this.
He's
in
not
this
even
redraft.
in the top 24 in the keep trade cut one.
Yeah, I
and
think
Michael Carter wasn't picked, and he is.
Correct.
He's another one that fell a lot though.
I'd much rather have Sermon over Carter.
Interesting.
I think I would too. I fall.
I mean, the thing
off on both of
the
them.
thing with Sermon for me is like it's more just been like Shanahan kind of like just not really giving him touches, because I thought the games where he got touches he looked pretty good in. It's kind of similar
That's
to
okay.
Ayuk's situation. Like, how much lower are you on Ayuk as a talent because of his lack of snaps and everything? Like, I still genuinely like Ayuk. Like, obviously his value has went down, but it's not
right,
like
but it's a very different situation when you've seen a guy put up a great end of a season. You've seen him do it for 6, 7, 8 games and put up 700 yards as a rookie wide receiver.
I'm basing this off of my college evaluation of Trey Sermon, and in the touches he has gotten, I think he's looked decent. I just don't think he's really gotten any, but I don't think that'll be the case forever.
Well, we had talked about Sermon a couple episodes ago, where I do think that he's one of those players, Cam Akers last year, right? Where he's not playing, and these Shanahans, McVays, and whatnot, they're all running the similar system and come from the same tree. Like, these are guys that they'll feed a running back, but they're only going to do it when their time comes and when they really feel comfortable with it. And clearly that Shanahan has not reached that level of comfort. But what's stopping Trey Sermon week 12, week 11 from finally putting it together, stringing it together a few good practices and gaining that trust? Other thing that's interesting is the first round has, like, if you were to combine our mock that we just did with keep trade cut values, first round really hasn't changed. Like, the players in it, the positions have changed a little bit of some of the players, but everyone that was picked in the first round in August is still being picked in the first round and valued as a first rounder now.
Yeah, I just don't think we've seen enough bad games from any of these players yet.
Yeah.
The quarterbacks haven't looked great, but again, they're quarterbacks, and it's,
The
they kind of get an
apologists.
excuse. Yeah, they get that built-in excuse of being the quarterbacks. So, yeah, it's hard for and the players that were drafted in the first round that weren't quarterbacks have been solid. I guess Etienne was the only one that was like a borderline first one that we haven't really seen yet. So, and Bateman, but Bateman even looked solid last week.
Well, that's the funny thing too, is that Etienne, according to Keep Trade Cut, is still the 11th most valued rookie. We had him around 11.
Yeah, that's pretty much where we had him, in our rookie draft season.
And it's funny too, because I don't think the consensus is that much lower on Etienne. Obviously during draft he was probably valued a little bit higher, and maybe realistically he's worth a very early second. But you might still be able to trade ETN for a first.
Yeah, I'd probably have him. I'm trying to think where I'd move guys around. I'd probably have him around where we have probably 204 or 205. I would have taken him. So
I had a
similar to
hard
where we had
time
him.
I had a hard time taking Freiermuth over him at 205.
Yeah, I think that's one of the very few things that would have changed.
We've been higher on Freiermuth than consensus like this whole time. Maybe that's partly because we're in Superflex tight end premium leagues.
Yeah.
But regardless, we seems to, and you just saw it last game where he finally starts getting some of these targets. Yeah, I mean, this has gone a little bit standard. Bateman's still in here. JT taking his guy Bateman, but I actually do think that Bateman still is valued around a first rounder. I think that realistically, Toney would be more where Bateman is in this mock via consensus, but you have your guys that still love Bateman. You have your guys that have somewhat flipped on Toney.
And all along Toney truthers.
Yeah, sure.
But what's funny too is that Toney is still in keep trade cut, not in the top 12. At least right now.
I mean,
I liked him a lot. There's not many rookie receivers.
One very good game.
It's a historic game.
All right, let's calm down.
I mean, 10 for 189 is tough to see from any receiver.
I'm seeing plenty of threads where the price to get Toney owners to sell is a first plus, which doesn't seem to really be reflected in.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
crazy
the
if you think
13th
you're getting
pick.
that.
Like, I understand this is a pretty good draft class, but the fact that it takes a first plus to get the 13th currently valued rookie does seem a little bit egregious to a certain extent.
And I mean, I think you would still have a hard time trying to trade Elijah Moore trading Toney for Elijah Moore. You know, even though he's technically.
Wait, hold on. Wait, so if you were to trade Toney for Elijah
Moore?
I
think
that gets
you
done
get
a lot.
Elijah Moore plus. I think you get Elijah Moore plus.
I don't know. I think it would get done, but I think there would be people, because obviously people are attached to where they took these guys, and a lot of these people took Elijah Moore ahead of Toney in these rookie drafts, and they're going to say, well, I don't know. Let's see how he develops a little bit. So,
to me though, I got it on the screen here for those interested. Right here, this number 15 spot where Bateman's at seems to be kind of like the line between the first round valuated players and the second round valuated players.
Yeah.
And Bateman, you'll have the guys that value him at a second. You have the guys that are sticking by their guns and saying he's still first. And rightfully so. The guy hasn't played. What's the line in that graph from How I Met Your Mother, like the Vicky Mendoza line or something?
Oh, yeah, isn't that like the crazy hot line?
Yeah, that's the line right here. That's Bateman. It's the Bateman line.
Yeah,
I'd agree. I'd agree that's pretty much the thing. I think Elijah Moore right now is where you start to get into like a decent second. You could probably get him for, or not a decent. I'll say like a good second, like an early second.
Yeah, the two below Bateman, Elijah Moore and Terrace Marshall are the two that saw like the huge rookie training camp hype and have since not done a whole lot. But I still like both those guys. Definitely,
most people are still holding them. There's no panic.
Yeah, we're in the hold zone. We're in the hard hold.
I think the biggest thing I got from the consensus ranking is like you can still sell Michael Carter for a decent amount. I'm surprised Carter.
Absurd.
I'm surprised Carter's ahead of guys like Gainwell, the Muth, Amon-Ra. For me, even Sermon. I think Sermon's looked better on his touches.
Look, I'm not gonna do my whole touting thing, but just so we know where biases stand, Frank said he'd rather have Michael Carter than DeAndre Swift. To me. He did say that.
Maybe.
Right?
Maybe.
I'm not
so just so you know where Frank stands on this stuff.
Wait, when did he say that?
At your house.
Oh, God.
That was post draft, I believe, but it wasn't.
And I don't hate Michael Carter, by the way, when I say that. Like, I don't hate him. It's just like, what has he done to still be ahead of some of those guys?
Man. That offense is so trash.
That Zach Wilson guy, trash. No, I'm kidding, but.
If we did this a week ago, Kenneth Gainwell would be even higher.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he kind of went low.
Is this the problem? Is the problem is when Is the problem his value always goes up in games where the Eagles are like losing by multiple scores, because that's when they're like, oh, his snap count's good, but it's like it's just those fourth quarter when the Eagles are playing 2+ touchdowns, like we saw in the Tampa game. When it's close, Miles Sanders gets more, and that's where you see his value changing from the week to week.
All right. Well,
But I'd still probably take him over Carter. So I was a little bit surprised.
I think that's a good place to wrap it off, though. Season 2, episode 11 in the books. Thank you, everyone, for listening.